have been celebrating Fibromyalgia Awareness Month, and today is May 31st, which is the last day of the month. So if you've missed any of my other videos, I talked about what is fibromyalgia, how does it affect you, what it looks like on a daily basis, how you can't see it, the diagnoses of it, eating, meal options, exercise options, meditation, yoga, and the mental aspect of fibromyalgia or anybody dealing with a chronic illness. And for this video, I really wanted to talk about coping methods that we can do for each mental illness that I had spoken about this past week. Alright, starting off with depression. As somebody with depression, you might think an excessive amount of negative thoughts. Now, how are you able to cope with depression? What does that look like? Well, one is to start getting educated on what depression looks like, what it is, what the symptoms look like, and what to really look out for. You're going to want to start laying out your days. And what I mean by laying out your days is to start planning them out. What are you going to start off with? What time of the morning do you want to wake up? And then, okay, once you get that down, what are you going to do afterwards? Are you going to go eat? Are you going to make yourself some breakfast? Are you going to make yourself a cup of coffee? Whatever your morning routine looks like. And once you get that out of the way, now what tasks are you going to target? Are you going to want to do homework? Are you going to want to read? You know, stuff like that. But I know to even get the motivation to do it, it's hard within itself. So now what? You're going to want to try to stop comparing yourself to yesterday or comparing yourself to all these other people getting their life together. Because you do have your life together. It's just kind of messy right now. And I know comparing within itself is very hard to do. But you honestly got this. When you're planning out everything that you're wanting to do, please make it into smaller looking tasks. Because overwhelming amount of words within on a paper is discouraging. You're going to want to make it look as easy as you can. Next are coping strategies for individuals who suffer with anxiety. So in those very intense moments of anxiety, how do you calm yourself down? Well, you immediately go to the worst thing possible. Okay, well, I need to prepare myself, but what if that preparation wasn't even necessary for something that wasn't even going to happen? You're preparing yourself for a bad result, but the bad result might not exist. When you're faced with this issue that is causing you anxiety, you're going to want to step back and you're really going to want to analyze the situation at hand. You're going to have to question yourself, if this is really going to happen, am I really thinking clearly about the whole situation? Or is there a possible explanation or a different outcome? If you're already overwhelmed with all these negative thoughts, you're most probably going to want to write them down now. There's so many voices going on in your head that you can't think clearly. So by writing them down, you're going to see exactly what's your concern and what are the possible outcomes, and to see if you can fix those outcomes or you can't. And so on this website that I linked down below, it goes over in the coping with anxiety section a 6-step process. So you're going to want to start off by writing down what is the main problem. Then you're going to want to create possible answers for that problem. Then you're going to want to write down possible solutions, even the bad one. Think about the solution in a practical term. Then you're going to want to overview your answers, and you're going to want to pick the most practical, the most realistic solution. And finally, plan out on how you're going to carry that solution out. And once you have it all written down, do it. And like most main issues, there's always going to be another issue that follows along with anxiety. So now you're just going to want to repeat the whole process again and again till these negative thoughts, these over-exaggerated thoughts calm down. Once you've already answered every possible outcome and already came up with a solution, but I really want you to understand that having this mental illness is not your fault. If you honestly could change it, I know, believe me, I know you would. Now moving on to PTSD. But for other individuals who don't have PTSD, trauma is still an issue. So I want to go over, there's different forms of trauma. I'm not going to list all of them, but with trauma, there's a lot of thinking involved. There's a lot of reflecting. There's a lot of calming down and understanding where you're at, trying to bring yourself back to the present state. Now with trauma, there's a lot of also supporting factors. Families, friends, romantic relationships are all part of having a safe environment. As an individual who suffers from trauma, all we want is a safe environment. And once we have that, that's really comforting. Alright, to start things off, somebody who is traumatized is in a state of panic or is getting to a state of panic. We're going to want to step out of any situation that is making us feel anxious at the moment. And if you're not able to do it on your own, please contact a friend, please contact a family member. You are not a problem. I promise you, you're not a problem. If you do have a support system, they will understand you because they care about you. And I know once you start talking to this individual, you're still going to have this anxious sensation throughout the conversation, and it's the whole conversation is just going to revolve around this one trigger. But know that the person talking to you is just going to reassure you that nothing is going to be escalated to the degree that you're thinking of. Please remember that how you're feeling right now at this very moment is extremely understandable and it's normal. Reassure yourself at that very moment that it's not going to last, that you can get through it and you will get through it. Another thing to remind yourself when suffering with trauma is to accept that this journey will take some time to adjust to. And how to come back to the present moment is to just enjoy certain things. And I could say all of these things, but the most important one is to actually confront the trauma. But the traumatic event, if you start going to a therapist, you will gradually get into the trauma. Therapists don't immediately say, okay, let's talk about the trauma. No. They ask you if you want to talk about it. They make a plan with you and see where you want to start, or what's the most basic form of trauma that you have had in your entire life. And it gradually goes to the level that you've never wanted to confront. And once you get to that point, it's gonna cause anxiety. I've dealt with that in therapy, but my therapist always looks at me and she's able to identify if I am uneasy, and she asks me if I really want to do it right now. If not, it's okay. But confronting the trauma is the most important thing you can do for your mental health. Okay, now coping with borderline personality disorder. Coping with borderline personality disorder, it's kind of tricky just because it deals with what all of you like, what calms you down at certain moments. In the description box below, I put a link how other people quote with their BPD. So one of them had said that she just puts on a cold shower and she's just there during an intense episode of her BPD just to calm her down and bring her back to the present. Or somebody said that they take selfies because they want to see, since individuals with BPD suffer from self-image issues, she takes pictures so she can remind herself who she is. You can obviously do boxing, you can do other forms of exercises to bring you back. I also watch, and I say also because somebody in the link had also shared that she watches horror movies. I watch horror movies too. I watch anything that just takes me out of that very intense emotion. And what about during an episode? Well, what I do is I literally take myself out of the situation and I just take a moment for myself, because a lot of them start talking and I really need to understand everybody's point of view. And if you're dealing with somebody who is understanding to your mental illness, then by all means tell them that that you're having an episode and that you would really like for your voices to be heard all at once right now. Nothing's personal, but they want to be heard. And finally, I left alcoholism, drug use to the end, because All mental illnesses can start coping with unhealthy substances. Some people will get addicted to pills. Some people will get addicted to alcohol. To sum it all up, if all of these coping mechanisms that you're doing, if you've gone to therapy, I know there's a lot of in between for a lot of mental illnesses, and when I say in between, it's a lot of self-harm, a lot of unhealthy ways that you're going to cope with the situation, a lot of yelling, a lot of outbursts, just uncontrollable actions that you might perform. And if you're going to therapy and it's not cutting it, I know that you don't want to be on some sort of medication. But I always think to myself that medication should be a last resort. But I'm glad to say that I did start taking medication for my depression, even though that I had gotten it for my fibromyalgia. And therapy just got that much more better. But that's how I want to end it for this video. Please go to a therapist, talk about it, and if nothing seems like it's getting any better for you, talk about getting medicated for your depression, anxiety, and so on and so forth. Once you find the right medication for you, it's really nice not hearing all these bunched up voices in your head. I'm really happy that you guys made it this far in the video. I'm really happy that you guys even watched my videos, and I hope it helped somebody out there. I really do. I really want to thank you guys for whoever is watching, has watched, has liked, has subscribed. It really means a lot, and it really means a lot to those people that I had interviewed. And that's not going to stop for my channel. I still want to promote other people's stories just because it's very therapeutic to even talk about the things that we've gone through and how we've developed different mental illnesses through our experiences. And even if we didn't have to go through something traumatic or something stressful and we still developed it, just developing a mental illness out of nowhere is also very traumatic to the individual because it's very life altering. That can also be said for somebody who has a chronic illness, develops arthritis even though that they ran, and now they can't run, now they can't enjoy certain things of their life, develops fibromyalgia and doesn't understand why they're in pain. And maybe it's me, because ultimately we want to throw it back on ourselves. You are your own person. You are in control always, even when it feels like you're not in control. Remember to love yourself, guys. I am going to be uploading one video a week, maybe two, but more likely one a week, to show you guys on how I eat daily, not just one meal option, but daily, what my work life looks like, you know, just how to function and enjoy life. That's why I decided to call it Living the Life with Fibromyalgia, because no matter how hard it gets, I'm still enjoying the life that I live. I love you so much. I hope you have a wonderful week. See you guys on Friday. Bye.